walking through today?
We are.
What's the likelihood that Elton returns at some point this season? Is his season over? Could he
Yeah, unfortunately, I'd say it's highly unlikely. It's a shame because, he was one of the first guys we drafted when I got here, and just been through a lot with him, and more obviously a lot of great moments. And it's a shame because he's one of our real leaders on our team.
Would you think of what Sean did at center, and is he going to start there moving forward?
Yeah, he'll start there. I thought he did a pretty good job.
What did you like about what he did? Obviously, you've seen him quite a bit through training camp and all that too.
Well, I think anytime just you have a new center coming and you're most concerned about the operation. And I thought our operation was pretty clean in terms of the quarterback center exchange. I thought there were some things offensively, the operation wasn't good enough, but in regards to his ability and what he's responsible for, the communication and just making sure that we're getting the ball back to the quarterback, I thought he did a great job with that.
I know it was only half a season with Elton, but did you see enough to think that he is a center long-term, or is that all up for discussion in the offseason?
Yeah, I think he did a really good job, and I think the more he played, the more comfortable he got within that position. And like I said, it's an unfortunate deal.
Is Dobbs okay?
He should be good to go.
What's the challenge that Jameis is going to throw at you guys?
Well, I'm very familiar with Jameis going back to my days in Atlanta. A guy that's obviously played a ton of ball. He plays fearless. He's going to let it rip. And just, I would say more than anything, he's a big time. I think he's a really good leader, a big time energy guy. And like I said, he's just going to, and we know he'll let it rip.
Matt, you talk a lot about the process. When the results are what they've been the past couple of weeks, does that force you in any way to go back and reevaluate the process and see if anything needs to change?
Yeah, I think you're always doing that. That's a constant evaluation, just making sure you're maximizing your time, where you devote your resources. And so that'll constantly be evaluated.
What do you think it is that does need to change to maximize the talent on the offense?
Well, I think we need to play clean football. I think that's the first and foremost when you look at it. A lot of self-inflicted just mistakes, whether it's false starts. We had a couple of illegal formations. Every individual's got a responsibility on every play. And if you're not clean, if one guy's not clean, they can go to crap. So unfortunately, we haven't been clean enough, I think consistently enough as an offense, because we've done some decent things. I mean, I look at some of our ability to move the chains on third down has been pretty good. Unfortunately, we've put ourselves in some tough situations over the last 2 weeks where, we just haven't been able to score points.
Those are things that are taught, right? Don't cover up the tight end, the snap count. Those are messages that you give to the players. Is it just not getting through, or why do you think that you continue to see that?
Well, I think there was two instances, right? And I would put put the first one on myself on when Kennard was in there at tight end, a position he hasn't been, very often. And then the other one is in 2 minute, and that's where we have to have guys that are clearly communicating with one another. I mean, I think we have enough experience where that should not happen.
Matt, you always say it begins with me, right? First of all, you're not going to give up play calling, I assume?
No.
I'm not suggesting you should. My question is, what can you do better then? Because you're always...
Well, yeah, I think it always starts, you have to look inward. And, I think, especially when you go against teams that are good football teams, and the complexion of each game is going to be a little bit different in regards to sometimes, like I told the team today, I don't care if we win 3-0 or 49-48. Bottom line is, we have to find a way to get it done. Otherwise, you get criticized, and that's just the way it is. So I think that especially as the play caller, you're trying to put people in the best position possible to go out there and have success. And when we're not having collective success, then you're constantly, you have to challenge yourself to do better, to find something else in order to go out there and move the ball and score points.
Matt, as the play caller, you had the tie that was 40-40, but the 3 losses are really low-scoring games. How does that strike you as a play caller in charge of the offense?
Yeah, it's always tough. It's always tough. And, I think over time we've done a pretty good job at scoring points. Unfortunately, in 3 games this season, haven't scored enough. So,
After looking back at Sunday's game with how defenses are defending you, do you see opportunities to be more aggressive, whether it's play calling, decision, to try to stress opponents in different ways?
I mean, we are trying a lot to try to push the ball down the field. It just depends on what you're seeing. I mean, you can force it down the field, and we did it a couple weeks ago, and it was an interception. So, I think the whole thing for us, and if you look at our track record, our history, is we have to be efficient and effective, especially when we're getting shell defenses. You have to be able to run the football. And if you're not as efficient at that, or getting big gains versus lighter boxes, it's going to be more difficult on everybody as an offense. That's just the numbers game.
What will Golden do this week?
We'll try to integrate him back into practice and see where he's at.
What did you think about how Bo fared at wide receiver the other night, and with the injuries you have at receiver, is that where he's going to be going moving forward?
I would say it's case by case. Certainly, we think a lot of him at corner, and he's done a nice job there. I know he hasn't gotten any game reps, but we see him every day in practice. So it was one of those things of necessity, I would say, last week, especially when you were dealing with 3 guys that were limited in some capacity. I think it's always a danger when you go in. You can't go into a game with just 2 healthy receivers. So that was just the case for that game. But I thought overall, I was really pleased with this effort. You know what you're going to get from Bo. You're going to get a guy that strains and does everything the right way. So I thought it was a really, really good performance for somebody considering all the circumstances going into that game.
How different has prep been this week for facing nearly different quarterbacks? I mean, this year, you had Flacco, you had Set, you have a new quarterback this week. You don't have a lot of tape the last several weeks with your opponent.
Yeah, I think that's always a challenge in regards to trying to just guess what people are how they're gonna attack you. So it does put a little bit more on your plate in that regard, but also it just reinforces the importance of trusting your rules in regards to whatever you're playing defensively, and making sure everybody's on the same page.
Yeah, you brought Hackett in as a part-time role that sort of helped the defense, right?
Sure.
Would you ask him for any ideas on offense, just to get a fresh set of eyes on offense at all, or is that not something that he's been involved with?
Yeah, we always talk, so he always glances over and gives me feedback.
Maybe this is the same as what just Dave just asked, but they got a new coach as well. Was that a challenge? Did you have any history at all with Kafka?
I do not. Outside of knowing him more as a player in this league. But yeah, that presents a little uncertainty in itself, just, in terms of how aggressive they may or may not be, and just his overall philosophy.
Hey, Matt, I know you're too busy to be spending time on social media, but I think some folks...
Probably a good thing, right?
I think some folks had some fun with the shot that Monday Night Football had of you on the tablet and jotting notes down. I'm curious.
Yeah, I didn't even see that, so.
I think the one where it had you order a pizza was funny.
Okay.
My
I was not ordering a pizza.
So I've seen you go to Jordan a bunch on the bench to talk about what you want to do the next series, but when the defense is on the field, is that something you've done before where you're trying to just focus on, all right, I need to come up with some other ideas? Does that say what you feel about Jeff, that you can do that and feel comfortable that you're not missing anything?
I've done that since I've been here. Similar things. It just happened to be that I was taking the tablet back and wanted to write something down, and I thought that whatever that cart was or whatever was a good desk. So I wrote some things down and kept it moving.
So, the reason I asked about it is because clearly you're trying everything to get the offense going, and there's frustration for everybody. But wasn't it just 2 weeks ago that you put up like 28 in the second half in Pittsburgh? Like, do you have to keep, I understand it's a week-to-week league.
That's the best way. I have to keep it in perspective, and it's week to week, and certainly, I promise you, as frustrated as anybody may be out there, I promise you that you're not as frustrated as I am. So, but I also got to keep, I believe in our guys. And so, it's all about just finding solutions, and I can't worry what has happened in the past. It's happened, unfortunately. So there's no reason in just like beating yourself up over it. You better have a short-term memory, and you got to move on. Not to say that you don't take that into account. Certainly you study the tape, and you try to be critical of everything from yourself to just the play and everything in between. So we're working hard at it. I promise you, we're working hard, and bottom line is on Sunday we have to go out and perform better.
When you look at your receiver room, you've had injuries guys up and down, but since Christian's return, what have you thought of his impact? He hasn't really eased back into it. He's been that big play threat every week.
Yeah, he's done a great job. He's done a really good job. I've talked about it many times, just his importance and how invaluable that piece is in regards to his ability to move around. I think he's done a great job in the run game and the pass game. Certainly, you can always feel his presence. He's an explosive playmaker for us, and we've got to continue to try to find ways to get him involved and get him the football, because he's one of those guys that's just rare size and speed and can make a lot of plays down the field.
I know your offensive linemen are conscientious guys, and now you're dealing with moving Sean, and there's been a bunch of injuries. But can you challenge those guys to say, hey, if we're going to get things going, it really starts with you guys? And are they the kind of guys that would respond to that?
Yeah, absolutely. I think we have challenged them. I always think football, no matter who you're playing for, where you're at, what level, it starts up front. And so, yeah, you're always challenging those guys. And those guys, I think they know we can do better. It's just each week's going to be a little bit different, and we got a great challenge in front of us. When you look at the front for the New York Giants, this is one of the premier fronts. Very rarely do you go against a team that's got 4 first-rounders on it, and so it's going to be a great challenge for us.
What's your level of confidence that you've identified your best 5 on the offensive line?
Well, that's always going to be like everything else. We're always going to try to evaluate and do that to the best of our ability.
What needs to be better there? You guys organization?
I would say just the consistency level of how we go out there, and whether it's in the run game or in the pass game, just how consistent can you be? Because it doesn't matter. You can have 4 guys. I always think that unit is 1. There's 5 individuals, but you are 1, and all it takes is 1 guy, and the whole unit suffers, as well as the whole offense.
Is reevaluating the kicking position in play this week?
No, we're confident with Brandon.
What gives you that confidence? Because he's last in the league for field goal percentage.
I know. I think some of those situations were like the other night. That's a tough situation to be in. I would say the day-to-day that we experience and watch and evaluate across the street. So we're going to put more stock into the practice. And then, ultimately, you have to go out there and perform on game day.
But Aikman said on the broadcast that Brandon had told him he was still hurt or still dealing with that. You've seen what he is when he's fully healthy. Is there any conversation about, hey, we appreciate how badly you want to kick, but maybe it's better to not kick for a little while again, or is that not a discussion?
It's always a discussion. Everything's a discussion. I mean, we have our process is you have to go through medical first, and then the player has a say so and where he's at. And the conversations I've had with him have been positive, and that, hey, I'm ready to go. And then obviously then the performance aspect in regards to how they perform at practice. And, you know, he's done well at practice. So that's how I have to make a decision.
Matt, you mentioned that Giants front. How much is it just not about the sack numbers with those guys? Because watching that Bears game, like Caleb Williams was just getting
He was amazing. I can't believe how he was able to get out of a lot of things. And yeah, like I said, it's an extremely disruptive front, whether they're getting home or not. So we're going to have to do a great job in protection. And, you know, you can't let up for 1 second versus group.
Correct me if my interpretation here is way off, but you mentioned needing to run the ball to open up the downfield opportunities. Isn't that a double-edged sword to a degree? Because with defenses maybe knowing that these might be more running situations then, in terms of trying to get the downfield opportunities?
Yeah, I think one thing that you guys don't always get the insight on is, I shouldn't say a lot of plays, but there are certain plays that have a run-pass option. And based on what is presented, if they're going to play soft shell, you're going to hand the ball off. And if they're going to come up, then you can either the pass is called and you can to the run, or the run's called and you can to the pass. And, you know, unfortunately, I shouldn't say unfortunately, just I would say it's a byproduct of what we're seeing, has presented some run situations.
Two more, please. You've voiced such confidence in Brandon McManus. What's the thought process behind them keeping Lucas if you continue to trust McManus?
Well, I think Luke's is a really good young up-and-coming kicker as well. So fortunately for us, we have the flexibility within our roster to carry two.
Will Van Ness get going this week, you think?
I would hope so, but I can't confirm that right now.
Thank you, guys.
Thanks, guys.